I have Nat from Gngr Bees, and Nat, it's great to see you. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm excited for us to do
Good,
this.
good stuff. You're welcome. It's great to have you here. So you started your business, Gngr Bees, what would be 2019? Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. It feels like it was a much longer journey. Like when you start the business and you think about it until you get things up and running,
Yeah,
it takes a while. So it feels like I have been doing this probably since 2017 or 18.
yeah.
Yeah.
And what was the inspiration behind the brand?
It's a long story. I grew up with my parents having their own business in Brazil and never wanting to have my own business. It
Yeah,
was like like I never want to do this in my life. Seeing them going through the ups and downs of being business owners. And I went through a phase where always worked in fashion. So I went through a phase of really trying to find my place after university,
yeah,
not feeling quite sure, not feeling quite passionate about anything. And then I had the chance to go to Tonga in the Pacific Ocean, and swim with a humpback whale.
yeah.
And that was pretty life changing to me. It was an amazing experience. So that on itself was incredible. And then I think around the time, maybe a couple of months later, I came up to the UK. I was back home, and there was a whale, a humpback whale, that was washed ashore full of plastics. And that was the first time we were addressing the conversation of plastics and
Yeah.
our consumption of plastics and the disposal of it. And that to me was really shocking because I had just had this incredible experience with this beautiful animal. And suddenly I was seeing it, washing up ashore full of plastic with plastics of brands that we were consuming today.
Yeah.
I think up until that point, we discussed the discussion on plastic was about plastic that had been circulating around the world from generations previous to ours. And so it never quite felt like our responsibility.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Also justified it that way. But then when we figure out that the plastic the whale had been having was from brands of today, from things that we
Yeah.
are consuming,
More recent than
a lot more recent. Yeah, I just had that moment like, oh, I really have to do something about it. So it was really like a matter for me of marrying my passions and marrying what I wanted the world to look like and what were the skills that I had and how I could do that. And so slowly and steady, Ginger Bees was born. At that time,
where did the name come from?
the name I think I wanted something to be unique and I wanted something to be to resonate with women. Like the whole idea that I had was that I wanted to create a community of women, of like women that would stand up for each other and um to just support each other regardless, without second guessing, without asking, just to be there for each other. And the bees have always resonated with me, and they are completely entirely community based. So it just, yeah, it was sort of like playing with names and ideas, and then Ginger Bees came up, and I was like, actually, really, I like the sound of that. I think it's cool. Like it carries on the idea that I wanted to carry, and
Yeah.
so it stuck. It stuck by.
Cool. So how did you go about launching the business?
The launch of the business was very soft. We actually launched in during COVID, or just before COVID hit, and so it was very organic. I always wanted the brand to be very organic and a word of mouth brand. And so we launched on Instagram very slowly, and then, a few friends started buying it, and then from friends to friends of friends, and so on. And suddenly the brand did really well because we were all locked inside our homes and we were working on more than often. And then we also were just prioritizing sustainable brands and particularly UK brands. So the business went really, 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 really well.
And how did that go to start with? I mean, the pandemic is very, I guess, from an e-commerce perspective, was good because you couldn't buy stuff. You had to go online.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So on e-commerce, we started working with Shopify.
Yeah.
Uh, Again, I was absolutely clueless. Like the process of opening the business for me was entirely new. I had studied business management, but I think often, as things are, when you study something, not often, I think it's easy or it's practical to take things from theory to practice, and it's just so straightforward like that.
Yeah.
So everything was new, like conceptualizing a brand and then coming up with the product itself that had to be done in exactly the way that I wanted to be done. And then also, managing the whole Shopify and doing all of those things was really difficult.
Yeah.
So
Did,
it's
did you
slowly.
look at did you look at other platforms, or did you just look at Shopify?
I remember very briefly looking at other platforms and then talking to people, and I think the general advice was like, if you are going to sell a product online, then you should just use Shopify. It's much easier and a lot more user friendly. So that's what I went for. It was sort of like, I think my frame of mind was, I know the things that I'm good at and I know what I want to spend the time doing. What are the things that I want to do, and then the things that I don't know, or I just don't have time to learn. I can't be doing everything really well, so I'll just either trust people that have done this beforehand, or I will hire someone that can do that instead of like spending my time learning something new. So I just went with the advice I was given.
Yeah, yeah, sure. And you said we touched off air. Things have been tough. Is what you were saying earlier. So talk me through what's happened now to the business.
So I decided to close the business last year. It was a decision that I think had been coming along for a little while.
Yeah.
Um, I For me, I'm a person who's very much passion driven. I need to be very, very, very passionate about what I do.
Yeah.
And Gngr Bees was it was a business of passion. It was my passion for the world, I know, and the vision that I had for the world and what I wanted it to be. It was passion for women and the way that we could empower women and the communities of women and all of the communities that we worked with, because we donated a lot of money for very small communities and projects. And I think it was just the realization that we were working so hard and the team had grown so much, but just wasn't feeling as fulfilled. I think
Sure.
part of me that there were parts of the business that I really loved and parts of the business that I wasn't so interested. So initially, I started focusing on those parts of the business.
Yeah.
And then slowly I started asking myself if this is what I really wanted to do, and um how could I actually make a difference with what I was doing. And so to me, like passion, and also I need results that are beyond the financials. I need to see results that to me have a meaningful impact. And so I had like the whole internal conflict,
I bet.
It
Yeah.
was it was my baby. It was a beautiful brand I created and crafted and nurtured and created a whole beautiful community to go around it. But something inside me just wasn't screaming,
Yeah. What
anymore, and I had to step back, yeah.
What were the things you loved?
I loved working with the communities, always, and we worked with very small communities, and so, um, the impact that we're able to make was really big,
Yeah.
which was a contrast. When I started, we looked at partnering up with big communities and big charities and all of that. And the impact of what we were doing, the work that we were doing together was so small because they're such big corporations. Was just so small, it wasn't worth doing anything. And then I was like, well, no, let's find this project. And so we started looking at very small communities, very small projects, and we would fund them entirely. And then you'd see almost like immediately the results of that on the community itself.
Yeah.
And I loved that. I loved like all the partnerships and all the brands that we have worked with along the way. It was so satisfying to me. I also love, because of my background in fashion, I've always loved conceptualizing the editorials and doing the visual strategy of the brand.
Yeah.
And like there's things of, every business, it's like some things you love, some things you won't love as much, and things like, having to deal with stock and management and collection timings and things like that was often very frustrating to me. I love designing the collections.
Yeah.
They're
Are you
very
are you quite a creative? It sounds like you're a creative person.
I am very, very creative. Yeah, I'm very visually driven. I'm very, aesthetically visually driven. And so one of the reasons that led us also to the closure of the business was that I had developed a whole supply chain that was entirely based on waste, and that was really difficult. But because of that, a lot of our suppliers that were a bit scattered around the world, it just meant that there were delays, and sometimes collections that are meant to come at a particular time of the year would come later. And so
Yeah.
we sort of missed the timing as well on
Yeah.
some of the things that we were doing. So I just had to sort of like had a hard sit down with myself and then just
Yeah.
ask myself what I really wanted to do.
It's big decision to walk away, having invested time, effort, and your heart in something.
Yeah, it is a big decision, but I think so often we're scared of making those decisions because we have spent time and whatever that is, right? Like beyond businesses, there's so many things in our lives that we're so scared of making a decision that goes in a different direction because we have spent time and money and we've made some effort into it. And I think sometimes we already know internally, and everything that is around you is pointing you into a different direction, and you just need to sort of stop a little bit and listen to it,
Yeah.
and then not be afraid of making that decision, taking that step forward.
What do you think you've learned from the whole process of building this business?
Oh, so much, so much. I mean, I went from having always worked for different companies in different positions. I did a lot of rotation through marketing teams into PR, strategizing, editorial, campaign creation, and all of that, to suddenly running a whole business myself and having to do that and everything else.
Yeah.
And I think that was an incredible school. I
Yeah.
learned so much. I think it's prepared me so much to go into another business and develop any of those things: strategy, supply chains, management, marketing. But I think most importantly for me, it really helped me understand what I really loved and was passionate about.
Yeah.
It's almost like I paid to learn a very valuable lesson.
Yeah. And even learning what you don't want to do.
Totally, totally.
Yeah.
So that was really, really valuable to me. And I I think in the beginning I had a very negative frame of mind. I was like, oh, I wasted this long, and I spent so much money in this and that. And today I was like, well, I could have spent that long, I don't know, maybe in school, maybe university, and it would have been equally as valuable, but a completely different experience. And here I got to actually put this
Yeah.
into practice,
I
and actually, learn on the real day, on the real world, and talk to people and create community. So it was amazing. It was an amazing experience.
I think if you come out of uni, you come out with a degree and a certificate that says you've done this. But if a business ends, there's no certificate to say,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, actually the learnings are
There's nothing to
yeah,
give you
you
that.
you
Yeah.
you probably learnt far more
So
than
much.
than any university course could tell you. So it's interesting. Talk to me about. I mean, you said that you're creative. You love create. You're a creative person.
Mhm.
That's only one factor of that. Whether you're building a brand, doing the marketing, those types of things. But what about the more operational side? Getting people on the website to convert, getting people to repurchase. Is that not your thing?
I have to say it's totally not my thing. I I have a very good mind of like
Uh,
strategizing when it comes to creative ideas and to I think it's a special gift to be able to see something and merge what someone says to a final product of whatever that is, like a campaign, an editorial, or just bringing that visually, and being able to look at something and say, well, I get what he's doing, but this could be so much better. We could make it this way, and that would convey a whole message. And I think I can do that very well, and it's something I love doing. I'm very passionate about doing that. Converting numbers is not my thing, and I had an incredible team of women that did that, and they did really, really well. I could have not done Ginger Bees without them. and they held me accountable. We'd have weekly team meetings,
Yeah.
and we'd run through all of these numbers and see what was working, what wasn't working. They developed many strategies for Gngr Bees, and we tested out. And the things that worked, we left them as like the blueprint for this brand. And the things that didn't work, we just scrape them off and we tried again and again. And I think, it's part of a small business, is like trial and error, and it's learning. It's a learning curve. But I can tell you 100% I wouldn't have done any of that without them. They're like they were my right and left arms. They were my bread and butter.
Yeah, they were a big part of what you did. And how did they respond to the news, the business was going to
um,
close?
we I think this was something really beautiful about Gngr Bees. We were at one point 4 women, and then we had external teams of people. But the core of Gngr Bees it was me and 2 women, my strategist and my marketing strategist. So I had a brand and a marketing strategist, and we developed beyond work. We developed a friendship, and so we'll talk every day. We very much got involved into each other's lives and what was happening, and being supportive of each other. And so they already knew I was very transparent about
Yeah.
felt about the business, and I wanted to be, because I think we all had invested so much time to make it grow and to make it work. And I had always been very transparent. My brand strategist was incredible, and when I told her I had a real burned out last year, I had been working nonstop. But in the middle of all of this, I also had a baby, and I never took a day off. I went from the hospital to packing 11 hours straight of orders. I never took a day off.
Wow.
So I really hit a burnout. I was like, I called her and was like, I'm done. I have nothing left. I don't sleep. I'm not eating. I was like, I'm just done. And she was like, spend so much time in this brand, and I can't just let you make that decision from this point, because you are burned out. Take the summer off and really think about what you want to do, and I'm here to support you, run the business. And she did. She really took the whole business and she ran it for the whole summer last year. She really held my hand through the whole process.
The big support.
So then I had a call with her, and I was like, I really thought about it, and I think I'm still closing the business.
Yeah.
Again, she was amazing. I was done. I had just hit that point where I was like, I was burned out. I was really tired. I was done. And she held my hand with a lot of patience, and she was like, right, like, if we're gonna wrap it up, we're gonna do it the best way, and we're gonna
Yeah.
do these things. And yeah. So I think the team, like, it was bittersweet.
Yeah,
None of us went.
a bit of relief that you'd made that decision, but equally, it's obviously it has an effect on other people too, and they were your team. You'd become friendly with them, and
Yeah, I think we all sort of left feeling like, oh, like, is this what we really want to do?
yeah,
But I think at the end it was a bittersweet goodbye, and we are still friends, and we all still talk, and
yeah,
we're supportive of each other. But I think it was a decision that sort of like we sat down. I was like, guys, I like, this is what I really want to do, and we was like, let's run through the numbers and let's look at what's happening, and we did, and we're like, you know we should really do this. So it was sort of like, it was bittersweet and sad, but I think at the end of the day we sort of
it's
somehow
still the right thing as well. Yeah.
yeah.
So what if I was to ask you for your top tips for an aspiring entrepreneur, someone that was maybe like you were, what, 4 years ago or 5 years, 6 years ago, 6 years ago, where you were looking to start your own business, what advice would you give to those to that individual?
I love this question. This question comes up often. I think, you know um it's really hard to tell someone what to do, because we never know what their intention behind them wanting to open a business is.
Yeah,
For me, it has always been about being almost like deliriously passionate about something.
yeah,
I don't think doing something for the sake of doing because it's cool or because it's going to make money is the way to go, because you have to wake up every single day, especially when you are a solo entrepreneur or a small business owner. You have to wake up every day and you have to show up. And that is showing up for everything, showing up in every aspect of the business, is dealing with things you don't want to deal with, things you've never predicted of dealing with. And you have to be, those are the moments that you have to be like, but I really love this and I believe in this. So I think it's just like really just being passionate about something and not
Yeah.
just open a business because you think like a product's cool or like this is, something that could work. I think is like really believing it. You can do, you going to do regardless of what it is, but like just being so passionate that people just think you're crazy. I think that's great. Yeah.
And did your friends and family, when you started your business, did they think you were crazy?
They're just like, there are a million brands of activewear out there.
Yeah,
Like,
sure.
why are you different? And I was like, yeah, like, and so there's like a million, brands of whatever, bottled water, and we still drink, and there's a million brands of shoes, and we still buy how many ever pair of shoes. I think for brands, it's never about the products. You could be selling anything. And we got to a stage with Gngr Bees, and this is what I always had told my team. I was like, we're selling activewear today, but tomorrow I might want to sell, I don't know, a pen, and I want people to buy it because it's Gngr Bees, because Gngr Bees is not a product, it's a brand. And what we
Yeah.
stand for is so much more important than what we sell.
Yeah.
And we did that, because people came to us because we were a sustainable brand actually doing things, right? Like we were doing the groundwork where
Yeah.
other brands are like planting trees. We're actually getting divers to go and like I think we took like 4,000 kilos of fishing nets, out of a reef in Sri Lanka. Or, had teams going and doing cleanups of beaches. And we had so much being done, so much work being done. We had mangroves being planted, and we had farmers getting like food security for communities. So we're actually doing the work, and we were so intentional with involving the community in that work, into allowing them to choose what they wanted to do and what type of work they wanted to do and how do they want to do it. So we got to a stage where we then partnering up with other brands that had the same values as we did, and people loved it, and it didn't matter that it was an activewear. And we launched many other products that weren't activewear, and they still sold really well. And I think that's what it is, it's like businesses are not products, they're brands. There is this story that you tell the world. It's not about the products you sell.
Yeah, I'd agree wholeheartedly. So how are you? So now the business is gone, right? You still have a huge amount of passion. You're still personally, you're still on a mission. What's next for you?
I again had a hard look at what I love and what I love doing and how I love doing it. And I love telling stories. I'm a great storyteller. I love again, I'm a very visual person. I'm a very aesthetically driven person. So what I'm looking at doing now is taking, I guess, like the little bit of the magic from Gngr Bees, which it is to create that story beyond the products for brands that really want to leave that obvious, having an open business with a name, and creating a visual strategy for them that marries that it's almost like a rebrand, really,
Yeah.
where I am rebranding businesses and creating a visual strategy for them, and then creating that visual, whether
Yeah.
it's film or it's photography, to then go along a brand that has a story and that
Yeah.
has a purpose.
I guess what you're saying is you're zeroing in on that creative element that you know that you enjoy. Yeah, yeah.
Completely, yes.
Which I didn't know. I think that's really cool. It's a great thing to do. What about from a sustainability point of view? And are you still active in that world?
I am, yes. I do a lot of talks on the sustainable space. I advise brands that want to go sustainable, or if they have started the journey, they don't quite know what to do. I do a lot of that. I would love to focus my work on sustainable brands. Interestingly enough, I find that a lot of the sustainable brands sort of have their idea visuals together, because I think the inspiration that they take are from from the planet, and so they're able to communicate that quite well.
Yeah, sure.
But yes, I do a lot of work on that space, and I love doing it. I think there is a way for us to do everything so much better and in a sustainable way. And I often ask brands, why are they not doing it? If there is a way, we can do it.
And what would your message be to brands around sustainability?
My message around, I think it would be that we start sustainable businesses because we're passionate about what we want the future to look like.
Yeah, sure.
And I think for every person, they'll tell them no, that they can't do the way they wanted to do something, whatever it is, if it's developing a new product or if it's to be in a store, whatever it is. And I've received many, many, many no's in my journey with Gngr Bees. Is that there'll be someone, even if it's one person, that will say yes.
Yeah.
And if there isn't a person, then you craft your own yes, and you make your own door and you just push through, because nothing's impossible to make. You just have to find the right way to do it with the right people.
And be motivated to do it.
Completely.
Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant. Nat, it's been great having you on. I've loved our conversation. So thank you very much for coming. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks so much for the opportunity. I enjoyed this as well.